Welcome to the Asistencia. Come along with me. Hi, my name's Heather and I am with the Asistencia as its general manager, owned by the Redlands Conservancy, and we are so excited today that you are joining us on Making It Magical Memories with our mansion memories here in Redlands, and we'd love for you to come and see our behind-the-scene tour of the Asistencia. We're outside the front, which was where everyone would go and enter, and was actually an old corral, and we are doing some remodeling, so when you do come and visit, you're going to see some new growth coming in, supported by many of our partners with a California native garden as well as a succulent garden. So come along with us this way. So the Asistencia was started and built here in 1830 as an extension of the San Gabriel mission as an outpost supporting it. It was one day's travel from the mission itself to go and be able to support as it was growing inland as part of the mission era. So this site was actually on Native American land by our indigenous elders, and this was its own village. And from that time, they were able to incorporate in. They did go and build on top of it, and I'll show you some of the adobe, which is actually just mud and dirt. And right over here on this wall, you can see what it looks like before it gets covered. So you can see here all this exposed just mud and dirt and little holes where all the bugs would crawl in and they would want to go and live there, and if it was not covered and protected, it would wear down, and which it actually did happen more than once. So this has been rebuilt a couple of times through its eras, because since it's 1830 and we're in 2020, that's almost 200 years old. It's older than what we think about even for Yoda at times, if we want to know that, but you know, that's another story. In any case, with that being said, the Spaniards would come in, and we decided we would create this Spanish wall to be able to tell the story, because all the Spaniards would bring different food with them to help go and support their outposts. So we have pomegranate trees, we have a mission fig, and a mission olive. And one of the things that we're going to be adding in through this are prickly pears, because the prickly pear was the glue that they used to put the plaster onto the adobe to protect it. Not many people know that, but that is one of the things that not only was it a food source, it was also utilitarian to go and help with its building and its structure. So come along again. With that being said, through this time period, the mission era was here. They built this in finished building it in 1834, and at that time then the mission era fell apart and they were called back to Mexico, to Spain, and so then in Mexico was able to continue to own it, and they gave it to the Lugos, and the Lugos owned all of San Bernardino County. Big, if you go and look on it, really, really, really big, and he had a lot of children. And he shared these properties with all of his kids so that they had their own place. So one of them lived here, and he did some rebuilding because some things had worn down, and he rebuilt it, and he lived here for a couple of years. And he enjoyed it, and they were very close to the Zanja and the Zenki, which is one of the reasons why they put the mission here, to go and help with its growing and development of food. But he got a little tired, and he decided it was time to go and rest. And so he went and he sold it to the Mormons, and the Mormons had it for about 7 years, and they had this as a place for tithing. They had it also as for chairs were built here by the Cram family, if you know them. And again, it was all for its own agriculture and development. And we're going to show you a room, which actually was one of the school rooms. That was one of the first integrated school rooms here in Southern California, and definitely in San Bernardino County. And that was taught by Mrs. Tinney. So come along this way. We're going to go into what they would have used as the site for their original classroom. Now the classroom, of course, this was rebuilt again in 1930. but it's on the original foundation. So come along here, we're gonna see the room, which you can imagine probably was its first schoolroom, but right now we're using it for a function space and a bridal suite. And if you come along this way, we've learned that many of the walls that were originally here were 3 feet thick, which is about, spread out your arms, it's pretty big. So that made it really cool because they didn't have AC and they didn't have heat. So everything had to go and stay here. And then from those 3-foot walls, when they rebuilt them in 1930, they reduced the size because they found the foundations all in the ground. And so they thinned those out so that they then could have thinner walls to make the rooms a little bit bigger because the rooms weren't originally this big. There was 14 rooms on this site when it was first built in 1830. And then they decided to make them a little bit bigger and a little bit more comfortable, and so that's what you see today. But I'm going to show you what's going to be our future pollinator garden, and what an Eagle Scout is doing is he's making garden beds that are going to be constructed and built, and each of those beds is going to tell about the different era and what they grew, because each of those eras changed. And I bet you when you come here, you'll be able to go and see that, maybe pick and taste some of the food that's there, because we'd love to have you come, and maybe you'll be able to plant your own era here in a garden bed. So come along. So this back area, which does look like a lot of weeds, was actually wildflowers. And if you go and look behind you, up there is where all of the raised garden beds are built. We're going to have at least 6. But it's going to be pretty fun in this fall when they get brought in. So this hopefully will turn into its own pollinator garden next year to encourage more of our natural wildlife to come in. But this is our chapel. So the chapel can seat tightly 125 people, but the high, tall ceilings, those actually came from San Bernardino County Courthouse, and they were brought in. So probably the wood came up from Big Bear and Angeles Oaks area and brought down, but it's all hand hewn. The tiles itself were made from dirt that was here regionally in Colton, I think. Colton or in Riverside County. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but if you come here, you can ask me and I'll double check. So, but this room is also done in its traditional style. The stained glass windows are very unique because they're all desert landscapes. And then the artwork here is traditional, and from what we found when we've gone to Smiley Library and the Heritage Room, this artwork was done by the Redlands Art Association. So we've been able to find from a postcard. But again, very traditional artwork that would have been reminiscent of our indigenous culture. So if we come along here, through this door, again, you can see right here, that's the foundation markers. It juts out a little bit, but that's what holds all of this in place. So we come through. So in here, this is what we have as our groom's room, but there's a couple of pieces that were left over that the museum left for us to be able to keep and take care of. And so you can always come and pick those, but come along this way. After the Mormons had this space, they sold it to Benjamin Barton. And I'm sure all of you have heard about the Barton House and Barton Flats. And he was here, and before he built the building right behind us, he lived here and had his practice here where everyone came, and as he was a doctor, he took care of them. But he lived here, and after he finished building, he moved back into his house, and this place kind of just went down to what most adobe turns into, a lot of piles of mud. The thatched roofs were caved in, so it was just a spot that people would come when they first came to Redlands, and they would have a nice picnic. which we hope that a lot of people still come out here and have a nice picnic, but they see that the buildings are a little bit in better shape than they were in the late 1800s. But it was bought by San Bernardino County because there was a revitalization and romanticism of the Mission era, which means they really liked the idea of the Spanish style, and they decided that this was a place for community to be able to come, and they wanted it to be an active part of the community. So San Bernardino County bought it, and they went through the process of rebuilding it. And so they were wanting to do it all in the traditional format of how it was built with the adobe where they could. They changed the roofs from tile, where it was originally thatch, but again to help with the structure, and they made the rooms a little bit bigger. So they did a little bit of cheating just to go and make sure that was a place that was able to withstand time. So they went through that process. It became a part of the WPA program, and that's how we became a historic landmark number 42, was because of the craftsmanship from the WPA area. And when you come, you'll see some of the ironwork that's still here. You'll see all the tiles on the pillars, that's what they made, and the roof tiles, some of those are still original from 1930. But we're going to go up to what we now call the Barton Room because of the artwork that they have, which is its own alfresco mural. And if you see up at the top, you're going to see what everyone sees when they drive by is that pillar, or the campanaro, and that is reminiscent of the Asistencia de Paula down in San Diego. And we have some resident foxes that come here. We have lots of birds. We've had a heron fly by, and we have some hawks. So, and then during the springtime, if you come, it's amazing to see all these painted lady caterpillars crawling around. You have to hop over them to make sure you don't step on them. And then they're all up under all of these eaves here for their cocoons. And then they come out and you see all these beautiful butterflies. It's worth a visit. So this is our own alfresco, a mural that was painted by a University of Redlands professor in 1947, as well as his assistant. Each day they could only do 3 feet at a time, because through the process, which you can see because it needs to be restored and we're looking for funding and doing lots of grant writing to make it happen, they have to chisel into the adobe. They put a thin layer of plaster, and then they're able to adhere their thicker layers of plaster onto it and then slowly paint it. And you'll see the depiction that's done is of our indigenous culture coming in. We have an eagle killing ceremony here. We have individuals with their metates grinding wheat because we were a very fertile land because of the zanja that was right behind us over here. But with all of that to being able to incorporate it, it also then tells the story of where the missions came into play and the helping of building the adobe. And I'll show you a piece of adobe even up close. Right here. Nice and heavy, but a lot of stones. There's a little bit of hay, but it's just mud. And it is a friendly place for bugs. I see a few of them every once in a while come out, but that's okay. That's what makes it fun. But these are just some of the things that you would get to come and see. And if we just had also some grants for underwriting the inside of our Barton Room, which is used as an event space, and it's also a great spot for distant learning because it has a drop-down screen and a projector, and if you are able to use your own hotspot, you're able to go and talk to your teacher in a bigger, COVID-friendly classroom setting. Hi, I'd like to introduce you to one of our greatest assets that we were able to work with this summer, Jenny, who's been able to develop more of our community outreach and student development program.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Solis, and I just wanted to share a quick message to my native Spanish-speaking viewers that are viewing. Hola, mi nombre es Jennifer Solís, Jenny Solís. Yo soy una de las estudiantes de la Universidad de Redlands y lo que yo estoy haciendo en este hermoso edificio que está conocido como la Asistencia es ayudando a que gente como ustedes que hablan español puedan tener más acceso a toda la historia que ha sido conocida aquí. Este edificio fue construido en el 1830 y me gustaría mucho yo como estudiante poder compartir todo eso con ustedes. Hay mucha historia que pasa por todo estos edificios, como muchas de las plantas y los jardines que están plantados por todos aquí. Hay árboles de granadas, hay árboles de tuna, que fue en muchos tiempos fue usado como pegamento y al mismo tiempo fue usado como una fuente de comida para muchos indígenas. Entonces yo como estudiante aquí hemos diseñado un programa que es conocido como el QR Code Program, donde van a poder ustedes venir, caminar y a su momento, a su tiempo, tomarse su tiempo a escanear códigos y leer y aprender mucho más de la información que está en este hermoso edificio. Así que queremos dar muchísimas gracias a Mention Memories por dejarme a mí hablar y compartir con ustedes todos, y espero que puedan venir y hacer citas, porque aquí voy a estar yo para ayudarles en todo lo que a ustedes se les ofrezca, preguntas en español, en inglés, y esperemos que en el futuro en muchos más lenguajes. Gracias.
That we hope that you will come out to the Asistencia, because we also have started and developed our own contactless, touchless QR tour program so that individuals can go to all of these different spots around the Asistencia, learn a little bit about it, learn more about the Redlands Conservancy and who we are and what we do, as well as our partners who have made a lot of these changes possible through our Inland Empire Resource Conservation and the Gates Cactus and Succulent Society and the Redlands Horticultural Improvement Society that are doing all of our changes out front to our gardens and making them much more conservation friendly and more what we would have seen when the Asistencia was built in its two time periods that it was built in 1830 as well as in 1930. But we're so glad and happy that you came here with us today, and we look forward to seeing you in person. And thanks again to Mansion Memories and making it magical so that we could be a part of this tour and have you come and see just a little bit of the magic and the jewels of Redlands.